But even more interesting now at this point is moving on to the NFL and our weekly picks. So last week, Logan finally joined the Get 11 right. He got 11 right last week, and I dropped down to 9. So that puts
I'm 2 games behind.
That puts I have you at 28 and me at 31. You were 8, 9, and 11. I was 11, 11, 9. So you are down by 3 right now, but there's some tough games on the schedule this week. Starting tomorrow night. I pulled it up right as we were getting ready to record. So, and I noticed that tomorrow night is an interesting game. So Thursday night football this week is
Do you have who I got wrong?
I deleted them. I delete them when we get them wrong. That's how I keep track of things. Perfect. But anyways, I believe we both got the Baltimore Patriots game wrong.
Yes.
The Cardinals beat the Bills. I don't know if I think that we both had the Bills there. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not 100% sure. I think you did have the Giants beating the Eagles.
I did.
The Colts beating the Texans.
Titans.
Titans, I mean, yes. I don't think we had that one.
I think I had the Cardinals winning. I had the Texans beating Cleveland as one of my losses. I had the Cardinals beating the Bills as one of my things, which was right. So I think my losses were Baltimore, Houston, and Indy. I believe were my 3 losses.
Yeah, because you kind of gave up on Indy because you kept picking them. Although you like Tennessee, you're a big Tennessee guy.
I didn't give up on Indy. Indy's been really good. They're in first place, right?
Probably. They're 6-3.
I mean, they just beat. I mean, them and the Titans are both 6-3, and they just beat the Titans. I think they're in first place.
Well, 6-3 teams. We got Arizona at the Seahawks tomorrow night. So that's a good game there. That's going to be a really good game, I think. The Seahawks have no defense whatsoever, looking like Swiss cheese out there. They are coming off a loss to a tough Rams defense. And before that, I believe they were on a bye.
Seattle lost to the Bills. They're 0-2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they lost to the last 2 good teams that they played.
Yeah,
and they're playing the Cardinals
another
this week.
Really good football team.
They are. I'm excited for this one because DeAndre Hopkins is on my team, and the Seahawks can't stop the pass for anything.
So Seattle's lost 3 of 4.
So I'm excited for this fantasy wise. But who in our Pick'em challenge will win between Arizona and the Seahawks here? The Seahawks were brutal last week, man. Anybody that had Seahawks players in fantasy last week pretty much lost because nobody on that team did anything. Although from what I saw on Twitter was that last week was one of the toughest weeks for fantasy players across the board, that a bunch of people underperformed, and I scored the most points in my league. So I don't know. I had a good week last week, so I was good to go. But apparently a lot of people struggled. And I know that Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett were all on that struggle bus. So do they continue their struggles or do they beat Arizona here?
I'm going with Arizona riding that Hail Mary to win. I'm riding that train. I think Arizona is a legit Super Bowl contender.
I think Arizona is very good. I do. And I question. I mean, the Seahawks offense right now is playing good. I mean, last week the Rams are just tough. The Rams are just tough. But the Seahawks offense is playing well. But they don't seem to be playing well enough to hang with teams that have good offenses. You know, the Bills beat them, you know, things like that. So the teams that are beating them, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a really good game, but I think I'm gonna agree with you here that Arizona wins this one. I think that when it comes down to it, my deciding factors are almost always in close games are quarterbacks and defenses. Well, the quarterbacks are both good here, and I think Arizona's defense is better. So I think that's
if this was a full normal year, I'm picking Seattle with the fans.
oh yeah, I mean that's a completely different
But
factor, but it doesn't apply here. Home team really
exactly,
doesn't
dude.
have the advantage here.
Crazy. All right, Arizona.
All right, so the next game is actually kind of an interesting one because it's the Patriots at the Texans, and the Patriots have they bounced back a little bit last week. I don't think we expected that. I think we actually that might have been one of the ones that was a surprise there that the Patriots won last.
Yeah, they beat Baltimore.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise for us. We weren't expecting that by any means, and so the question is, do they carry that momentum here? Whoops, accidentally clicked off here. In this week against the Texans.
So I went big on the Texans last week in my upset prediction, and they bent me over. But do I trust Super Cam? No.
I never trust him.
I trust Bill, and I'm gonna go with the Patriots this week, even though they're on the road in Houston, because if Houston couldn't win a 10-7 game against Cleveland, I don't really have that much faith in them beating Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
You know what? As much as I want to disagree because I love Deshaun Watson, Bill Belichick is known for his coaching style is whatever the other team does best, we're going to stop that and make them play around that. And the problem is the entire Texans offense runs around Deshaun Watson. So if you stop Deshaun Watson, there's nothing left to that team at all. Exactly. So I don't see them pulling this one out either.
Yeah, he takes your best offensive weapon and takes them away. Well, he doesn't have to worry about the best offensive weapon because they're all garbage or not good enough to worry that much about. So
here is a turd game of the week.
I love this game.
Eagles at Browns.
Oh, that game. I thought you were talking about another one. Turd game of the week.
This to me,
I chose the first two.
So this one is interesting because Cleveland's record, you would think, oh, this is easy. Cleveland's 6-3. The Eagles suck. They're all hurt. But then they came out last week and barely beat the Texans. And I don't know, man. Cleveland looks terrible, and so do the Eagles. But I don't know. The Browns have Chubb and Hunt.
And Jarvis.
Yeah, I mean Jarvis hasn't done much for them. And the Eagles, I mean they've got a lot of their players back now. I don't know, man. I don't know that I trust the Browns here. The Browns have been playing pretty poorly. And so I feel like this is going to be a Browns collapse here. I think the Browns are pulling a Bears and they're collapsing, and I'm going to go Eagles.
I'm going to go Browns.
There we go.
I don't have any faith in the Eagles.
So if let's say you were a big time Eagles fan, and maybe if you knew a big time Eagles fan or a wannabe big time Eagles fan, I'm not really sure. Let's say you knew one and you were giving them some advice. Well, what might you advise that team? I know you.
Advise the person or the team?
Him about his team. How about that?
I would advise him anything because he's a stubborn shithead and I love him to death. But
I know you're not a big believer in Carson Wentz. That's what we're getting at here.
I'm not a big believer in Carson Wentz, but he's not the problem 100% the problem this year. I mean, he's throwing an absolute crap load of picks because he just has to force the ball all the time because they're trying to come back. So you're going to throw a lot of picks when your team's not that good and you have to come back. You throw a lot of late picks, stuff like that. So he's turning the ball over at an incredible rate, but last year, I thought they were good enough to do good things, and he was not good at all. And then after I kind of talked to you and Brandon about how he was really just bad at football, and I don't know what they want to do, he then all of a sudden played really well for 6 weeks in a row after everyone in the world said Nick Foles is the better player in Philadelphia, and they shouldn't have traded Nick Foles to Jacksonville. But I don't know. I don't think Wentz is the problem. The problem is they're dead. I wouldn't say.
I think the Eagles' big problem that they've had every single year, regardless of Carson Wentz, there's two big problems they've had. Their team can never stay healthy. Their best players are always hurt, whether it be Wentz or people in his offense. And the fact that their wide receivers are terrible. Wentz's biggest threats to pass to are tight ends. It's like, man, tight ends are cool to pass to and all, but when you have no one else on the team to pass the ball to, it's you're not going to gain a lot of yards only throwing to your tight end.
So people thought it was cool to try to copy the Patriots on not doing anything big with receivers and still just throwing for a crap ton of yards. And then they realized after a certain point that even Brady couldn't do that anymore. and then they realized, and then they watched the Chiefs draft 3 receivers in a draft and they already had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins, and they still took 3 of their 7 picks were receivers, and then 2 of them were studs, and then both Watkins and Hill got hurt, and they survived. And all of a sudden people went, man, stacking receivers is a good idea, especially when you're in a quarterback league that just throws the ball all the time. You're like, man.
And now the rules don't let you hit anybody, and I mean, it is good. It's an offensive league,
which is good because some of those things are trying to murder people. But it all of a sudden, the Chiefs came out saying, yeah, having a good amount of receivers in a league where you throw the ball 45 times a game seems to be a smart strategy. And everyone else went, that's a good idea. But the problem is the Eagles are spending a boatload of money on Alshon Jeffrey, who's old and hurt. And then they're signing guys like Deshaun Jackson, who has been terrible for like 5 years. And then they draft a 5'10" receiver out of a D2 school and leave DK Metcalf to fall to the end of the second round. They literally took like the 7th or 8th best receiver in the first round.
Jefferson, the wide
it's like why it just didn't make any sense. I mean, if you hit, you look like a genius, but man, you look like an idiot when that guy is just not that good. And your best receiver is an ex-quarterback playing receiver. So I don't know. Wentz is not the problem. I think it's just a struggle. I think
it's a poorly built team.
When you're this hurt, and they're the second most hurt team in the NFL.
They're getting players back though. They've got Goddard back. They've got Sanders back. They've got some options.
Hurts and Jeffrey.
Yeah,
and that's big. But,
all right. Well, this next game, I don't know. I don't know if maybe you're feeling upset city here. Maybe you're going to take the road like I did last week and fail miserably. Pittsburgh at the Jaguars.
Pittsburgh, dude, 10-0. I'm not even looking at.
I will not bet against that again. I thought there was going to be a chance that Joe Burrow was going to pop off. And I'm going to be a little bit honest here. I was being a little bit shady because I knew Big Ben was on the COVID list and had a possibility to not play.
Oh, I know.
And so I was hoping he wouldn't play, and then I would get that pick there because we saw how bad Pittsburgh is without him. And so I was kind of hoping there, but Juju ended up having a good week for me, so that was big.
You know what's really funny about that is going into like the middle of the second quarter, I believe the Bengals were winning that game.
Yeah, so I was hoping for a couple things there. It just didn't work out. But so I'm not betting against it again here. The Jaguars are not even their starting quarterback, and
yeah, you were like the Steelers are down for a bad week, and I go, yeah, it's not happening, dude. Not against this team.
I just thought maybe Joe Burrow might just pop off. Sometimes he does that.
Rivals get to play rivals close, no matter how good or bad they are, right? So it was definitely not the worst. It was definitely the better upset pick you could have taken because rivals play rivals.
This next one. I wonder how long you're going to stick with it. It is the Lions at the Panthers.
Didn't I give up on the Lions last week, or did I go with the Lions last week? Let me see what they did.
Lions last week. They played Washington.
And did they lose?
They won. They won. Yeah, barely though.
I chose the Lions.
Yeah, barely.
I'm definitely going to jump off the Lions train right now for this game because I believe Carolina's played 2 really good games in a row and lost them both. If I'm correct,
Christian McCaffrey's still not playing. They just got murdered.
Assaulted by Tom Brady. I forgot about that.
And Christian McCaffrey's still not playing. So
yeah, but he's not playing.
But they do have Carolina favored to win.
Screw it. I'll just jump on my Lions, dude. I said they were gonna.
Yeah, you can't jump off the board yet. Come on now. Yeah, you gotta stick with it, man. Because
a little longer. This might be the last. If they fail me this week, then I'll probably be hopping off the train. But I'll give them one more week.
I think what's his face? Teddy Bridgewater is also questionable for this game too. So. I don't know. I think I got to go Detroit in this one also. So I guess technically by Google or whatever, we're picking the underdog in that one. So by picking the 4-5 Lions. All right, so a 2-win matchup here: the Bengals at Washington. I think the Bengals are a much better team. Washington's running back situation, they're pretty much the only good players on the team, and then both running backs are doing really well. And then
They got a receiver out
they
there.
have one receiver.
He's
and
a freaking
he's
stud.
so good. I mean, the fact that he is as good as he is with the quarterbacks he has is
Dude,
phenomenal.
so
But I think the Bengals just have more here, and so I think the Bengals are gonna win this one.
we're gonna disagree.
Ooh,
We're gonna disagree. I'm gonna go Washington.
okay.
For the sole purpose of I
It could go
am
either
kind of a
way.
believer in Washington, and not that I think they're gonna be good, but just I think they're not that bad. Do we know who's playing quarterback for them this week?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Is it gonna be Alex Smith in another start? Because he had a really, really, really good second half last week.
I would
And-
assume he's probably gonna be.
And if Alex Smith
moving
is
forward.
starting, that's why I'm going to Alex Smith, is because they're going to be better than what they've been. I think Cincy should be favored, and they probably are the better team. But
Well, it does seem like
Alex Smith
too.
threw for 300, almost 400 yards in his first start after his leg broke in half like 2 years ago.
The Washington
The Washington football team.
the Washington football team has done a pretty good job lately at making sure their real weapons are getting the ball. So their two running backs and their wide receiver are getting the bulk of the offense. And so they're putting the ball in the playmakers' hands. So that's always a better recipe than just getting murdered all the time.
Yep.
So this is an interesting game. The records don't say it, but the Falcons at Saints. This is an interesting game because the Saints still have a good defense. The Falcons have a underperforming offense, and Drew Brees is hurt. And
I think the Falcons have a top 10 offense.
And so famous Jameis is starting this game. He is starting this game for New Orleans against the Falcons. This is an interesting matchup because Jameis Winston is known for losing games. He is known for giving them away, but the Falcons' defense is terrible.
4 touchdowns, but also having 4 turnovers.
The Falcons' defense is also terrible. The other thing that's interesting about this too is how much is Jameis Winston gonna use Alvin Kamara? Because Winston's not known for throwing little check down passes to his running back. He's known for just chucking the ball towards the end zone.
Well, he's got the same style of offense that Brady's not playing, and that Brady played in New England. What New England did throw a lot of checkdowns, but Brady threw that mid to deep ball a lot, especially that mid-range ball. And it's kind of Jameis's style, but that's not who the Saints are. The Saints throw the ball either really deep or really short. They don't throw 15-yard balls.
Yeah, so
I know of. I could look like an idiot, but I know what they did last year, and that was not like throw 7-yard balls all the time. And hey, if you complete a 7-yard ball 75% of the time, like Breeze does, not a bad strategy. It's not a bad strategy, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jameis Winston makes this interesting here. I've heard a lot of people in fantasy are actually taking Taysom Hill and playing him because in a lot of leagues he's eligible at tight end. And so then you could get his rushing yards, you could get his passing yards, and if he catches anything. So he's got ways to get you points if he ends up coming into the game. I don't either, but they love him. They love him, and they get him in all kinds of funky plays, and you never know what he might do. And tight ends are terrible this year.
They might be 8-1 if Sean Payton decided not to do stupid stuff and take Drew Brees off the field so often in the fourth quarter of a game they lost.
Well, there's something said for that. So the question here though is Jameis Winston going to win this game?
Yes. Nolans.
I
think Jameis Winston will do fine with Sean Payton and their team. I actually think that Jameis being a backup will drastically help him on these spot starts. I think he's actually going to play really well, and then people are going to come out saying, should Jameis be the starter? No. The answer is no, but I think he's going to play really well.
I don't know, man. There's a large part of me that's saying pick the Falcons here, but the Saints defense is pretty good. And the Falcons are just known for blowing games they should win. I guess I gotta go New Orleans here. I mean, they're just the better football team regardless of who's playing quarterback. It could be Taysom Hill playing the entire game, and I still think they got a good shot in this game. So
if they were starting Taysom Hill, I'd Falcons by 30.
All right, so now this is another good game here. The Titans at the Ravens.
This is the last noon game. So this is a cool game. Really cool game. Both these teams just lost games they probably should have won, especially Baltimore. So that's what makes this game very interesting because Baltimore is now tied for second place with Cleveland and pretty much out of winning the division now, being 3 games out of Pittsburgh. I mean, they're pretty much done. And they only play each other one more time the rest of the year. So it's going to be so difficult for Baltimore to win this division. So they got to worry about getting that 5 seed more than winning the division right now. And Tennessee's in the same thing. They're tied for first place with a team that just kicked their absolute ass in front of the whole world. So that makes this a little more interesting. I'm trying to think here who I would want to go with. So I don't know if you have anything to say about this game, but this is
I don't know why, but all of last year and all of this year, regardless of what their record says, I don't like Tennessee. I don't know why, but I just don't think they're good, and yet they keep winning. And that's I think it's because it's Ryan Tannehill. And I just don't think he's a good quarterback. And I don't know why.
You hand it to a freaking god.
Well, there's something to be said for that. But I'm going Ravens here. I don't like the Titans. So.
I predicted the Titans to beat Baltimore as a 6 seed last year in Baltimore after Baltimore went 14-2.
So you're picking Baltimore.
Titans again.
I thought you were gonna hit me with the hot turn.
No, I picked the Titans to win last year.
We got a few matchups here. Hey, you know what? You got to make up 3 games, so you gotta differentiate from my picks here.
We got plenty of time to make up 3 games. If I'm even going to make them up at all, I got to go with my gut. I think the Titans are going to win this game because I like the Titans.
So here
Derrick Henry was a 4th round pick, idiots.
So here is
he's too slow for the league, by the way. Derrick Henry went in the 4th round because he's too slow for the league. He's got 2 99-yard touchdowns. Anyway,
this is not an interesting game by any means, but it's an interesting game for me because
I know what you're going to talk about.
Justin Herbert is my fantasy quarterback, and he gets to play against the Jets here.
Yep.
So that's going to be big for my fantasy team.
Mm-hmm.
The decision I have to make, though, that's less important because it really doesn't matter that much, is at tight end. Am I playing Hunter Henry, or am I going to play Hurst from Atlanta? Hurst has been the better fantasy tight end this year, but, I mean, somebody's going to catch all these passes against the Jets. And I know that the Chargers have a lot of mouths to feed that, I don't know, make big plays, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like everybody's going to be open in this game, so you never really know. I mean, I definitely taking the Chargers in this game. There's no doubt about that. I think the Jets don't want to win games, so. But I don't know. I have that tough fantasy decision to make, though. That's kind of my tough decision this week.
I am picking the Jets.
Whoa.
I'm picking the Jets for one reason. One. And do you know what that reason is?
Because LaDainian Tomlinson played his last year of his career there.
Because Justin Herbert cut all of his hair. Going Jets.
Why would he do that?
He cut his luscious locks. He now has gross hair. He doesn't look good.
What is this? Hold on. Justin Herbert haircut.
Looks bad.
Haircut. Oh,
he looks bad. He looks bad.
Oh,
I'm
no.
going in the way of Pat McAfee. In the way of Pat McAfee. Look good, feel good, play good, pay good, live good, die good. He doesn't look good. So he's not going to play good. Jets are winning the game.
Oh my goodness. That's a heartbreaker. I'm about to bench him in my
Hot
fantasy
take
team.
of the week. He looks bad. The quarterback got a bad haircut. I'm taking the Jets.
I think Justin Herbert is the quarterback from this draft. I think
him and Joe Burrow are really balling out. I really like that these two rookies are walking in balling out. I think he is. I think he definitely could be too. Even though I was really down on him going into the draft, and a lot of people were. And then there were some people saying that the only reason Herbert's even going to be taking the first round is because he's white. Yeah, he told all those guys. He gave all those guys the middle fingers real quick. But legitimately not looking into it at all. The Chargers are the better team. Jets are winning this game because
of a haircut.
Herbert got a bad haircut.
All right. So speaking of good quarterbacks who were drafted, we have the
Tua.
Miami at Broncos. So
Tua and Drew.
Tua has won all 3 games he started.
Has he started 3 games?
Or 2 games. I don't know. Whatever. He started. He
One
won all his games.
In one of those games, he threw for under 100.
He did. His defense won him that game, but he is showing he is a winning quarterback. So
I'm going Miami. I'm all aboard the Drew Lock is going to take 3 weeks off for throwing a touchdown again. He threw like 3 touchdowns week 1, then took like 5 weeks in between touchdown passes. Then he threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago, and then he didn't throw a touchdown last week, and he's not going to throw any this week either. All aboard. The Drew Lock is a 4 touchdown or bust type of guy. Miami.
I am all aboard the. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this witchcraft that you're spitting here, but I think Miami's defense is too good for the Broncos offense.
I think Miami.
And I think Miami wins. All right, so teams with
Brian Flores is the NFL Coach of the Year.
Hot take, maybe not so hot, but
I don't even think that's that hot after what he did last year, and now they're 6-3 already. I mean, they win 9 games. He's probably the Coach of the Year, right? I mean, and they make the playoffs.
Could be. So this game is somewhat interesting.
I mean, Pittsburgh is 9-0.
The Packers at Colts.
I know, dude.
The Packers are 7-2. The Colts are 6-3. The Colts are looking better, and my pick.
Colts are looking good.
My original pick was that the Packers were obvious, but then now I'm reading this and it's saying Indy is favored to win. So now I'm a little bit torn. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers, when he's on, he wins the big games during the regular season. It's against a winning team. So I consider it a big game.
But it's not really a national television.
Yeah, but I think it's a big game because they don't want to be 7-3, and they don't want the Colts to be 7-3. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think that anytime teams that have good records play each other, I consider it somewhat of a big game. And I think Aaron Rodgers shows up this week. They had a tough week last week, didn't they? No,
they slaughtered.
No, they won 24. The Packers.
2 weeks ago, they slaughtered San Fran, and then 3 weeks ago, they got absolutely assaulted by the Bucks.
So last week, they played the 1-8 Jaguars, and they won 24-20. Very close game. Their offense didn't show up at all that game.
Indy went into Tennessee on Thursday night last week and just dominated. So they're.
But I think Aaron Rodgers bounced back here, and I think Green Bay wins this game.
I'm going Indianapolis. I'm on the Indianapolis. I'm on the Indianapolis is good train. I really am.
I don't know. Everything I saw from Phillip Rivers in San Diego makes me think that Phillip Rivers.
I was forgetting their quarterback. I was aboard the Indiana. Like I was on board of picking them to win last week, but I just like the Titans so much that I constantly pick them. And I was all aboard to say the Colts are going to win because they're 6-2 after losing to the Jaguars week 1. Yikes. And so I'm literally taking that week 1 off their record, so I'm counting them as 6-2. And I just think they're a good team and they're the best defense in the NFL. They got Darius Leonard, who's a god, so I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts.
So this next game on paper is not a challenging pick'em, but I just want it to be known that when the Vikings win this week, they will have won 4 straight since I said they were going to turn it around.
Yep.
And that's going to be my triumph of this season, I think. I'm definitely taking Minnesota here, obviously.
Also taking Minnesota here.
But I do think it's interesting that currently the Vikings are now tied with the Lions as far as record. They're both 4-5. So your team that you said was going to perform is now even with the team that I said was going to perform.
But that was my team's 1-2. Your team's 3-0.
Exactly. So my take was I was a good take here.
And Minnesota also beat Green Bay and Chicago in Chicago. So,
but it's nice. So we're both taking Minnesota.
I'm bragging on you because those are 2 of 500 teams.
It was a good take. It was a good take there. This one should be interesting because you did talk about in division, and it is the Chiefs at the Raiders. They do match up several times, it seems like, throughout the season, being in the same division. So I mean, this is always hard to know what's going to show up because last time they played, it was a pretty good game. And so, I mean, that's kind of what you had mentioned, that in division games are always pretty good. So the question is, do we see another one of these good games, and do we see a team being the Raiders pulling it out of their buttocks?
So the Raiders already beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was trying to find a score there.
40-32. Raiders have their Chiefs' only loss.
So the Raiders are the only loss for the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs are going to assault them, especially with the Raiders' defense having COVID. So
rip.
They're losing a bunch of players right now due to COVID. The Chiefs are going to avenge sevenfold their loss, and they're going to. I think they're going to win. I don't see the Chiefs losing twice to the same team in a season. I don't think they would do that to any team.
I guess the only thing you could ask is, do you? My thought would be, looking at it, the only way the Raiders would win is if you said, I think the Raiders figured out something that beats the Chiefs. But they gave up a bunch. They gave up a bunch of points. They just happened to score more that game. I feel like the Chiefs are more likely to figure out the Raiders than the Raiders are to figure out the Chiefs.
I think Patrick Mahomes is more, when playing a team twice the second time, I think he's got a nice chance of dropping 50 on them. So
yeah, so I'm also gonna go KC.
And since they lost the first game, it's a little different.
So the Monday night game. This might be, I don't know. This might be the best Monday night game of the year. I feel like the Monday night games have been kind of lame this year. So this Rams at Tampa Bay is a very interesting game because the Buccaneers are a very strong offensive team. The Rams defense has been lights out. So is Tom Brady going to get enough out of his offense to beat out the Rams, whose offense hasn't been all that great, it seems like, but their defense is definitely showing up. And that's that. I mean, this is a tough game. This is a tough call here.
It is, especially after Tampa just beats up Green Bay, but then gets beat up by Nolans.
So, I mean, the question is,
Tampa's
do you think
7-1 against anybody not quarterbacked by Drew Brees?
But the question is, do you think that beating up by New Orleans was also defensive based, and that when the Buccaneers play a really strong defense, maybe they don't perform? I mean, there's a lot of variables to this. A lot of variables.
I mean, that's kind of true, though, because their losses are to the Saints, who have a really good defense, and the Bears,
who have a good defense.
The
Bears were playing, and the Bears were obviously playing better than they are now.
Well, the Bears have pretty much done the same thing all year. Is now instead of scoring 20 points a game, they're scoring like 12 points a game. So
yeah,
their defense has done the exact same thing all year. But
I think I'm gonna go Rams.
I'm also gonna go Rams. I've chosen too many. I've chosen a lot of risky picks this week. I don't.
Well, so Tampa Bay is favored
being risky at all anyway, because you could easily choose both these teams to win.
Well, and that's where it's tough is because if my tiebreakers were quarterback, Tom Brady's my quarterback, but then my other tiebreaker is defense, and the Rams defense is way better. So who do I think is better, the Rams defense or Tom Brady? And I think at this point in this game, the defense is better than Tom Brady. I think
Yeah,
that's
I don't
what
know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Brady walked out there and put 35 up and won this game, but
I think this
really.
is I think this is more like a
It's gonna be a packed
20,
stadium.
21-17 or something.
I don't know, dude. In Tampa, it's gonna be probably full, like near full capacity because Florida just doesn't give a crap about COVID. On Monday night, it'd be probably pretty. I
We'll
could see them
see.
scoring a lot of points. I'm still going Rams though.
We'll see. I think the big kicker here is the Rams offense going to show up at all? Because the Rams offense likes to just disappear sometimes.
Also, Brady hasn't had a bye yet, so those boys might be getting tired
That's true too.
because pretty much everybody's had a bye this year except for like them and Carolina or something like that. I think everyone's had a bye besides them, and theirs are next week.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a tough one, but we both went with the Rams, so either way, it won't really matter in the end because it'll just even out. But it'll be a good game. It'll be fun to watch.
We had some different picks this week.
We did. We had a lot of varying picks there. I don't even know if that's a word. But yeah, we've got some good variety on the board here, I think.
Jets by 100.
Wow. That is a bold prediction here.
Anything else happen in football?
Not that I know of. Nothing major. I don't think that a lot of the active inactive stuff's come about. Christian McCaffrey's not playing. That's all I
know. My through 10 weeks coach of the year is Miami.
True. Hot takes.
My defensive player of the year is I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that kind of stuff.
And so my MVP is probably I'm probably gonna go Patty, but people can say Russell Wilson. He's got 9 more picks than Patrick Mahomes, so I don't really know.
All right. So that's football.